Hey, 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 all my December daily friends. I am finally getting started on this project. I know I started my title page way back when I thought I was going to get a few minutes and, the season was going great. And then the plague hit us and all of the walking pneumonias, and I got it, and I'm still not completely, I'm like 80%. I think I'm 85%. Let's give it 85%. So I have been sick since pretty much like December 11th, I think, or something like that. Anyways, not that I think that I would have probably gotten to this project much not being sick, but you never know. All right, so we are legit starting on day one of this project, and day one started out amazing. We traveled down about an hour away from us and went to a Christmas pop-up bar with the whole family. It was definitely fun with my parents and everything. It was pretty cool. So you can see, super decorated. So we're going to do this first page. Now, at this point, I pretty much believe a lot of these are going to be like copy and cases because I'm just trying to get this project done. But, still a few changes here and there, as I don't have the main kit. I have actually the Liz, the mini kit, oh gosh, what is it? Paisley Press kit. There we go. Paisley Press. I'm like, what am I even talking about? But I actually had this, somewhat of this idea before, what is it? Is it Linda? I think it's Linda Loves to Create. I think that's who it is. Did this away. I even mentioned it on her Facebook group or on her Instagram post, like, oh my gosh, I was about to do the same thing, mainly because I had a lot of pictures from this event and it was like our kickoff to the holiday. So I am pretty thankful for the things that we got done before everybody got sick. But this December daily is definitely going to look a little different. So, like I said, I do not have the main kit, so I don't have this paper. What I did do in Photoshop is go in and just make, I think these are 1.5 inch rectangles by 8.25. I found the font that Allie used this year and adjusted it that way, and then set my foil quill to foil this, and it actually did quite a decent job. It looks like it got a little hairy right up in there, but honestly, it did a great job. So we're gonna cut this all apart. So again, like I said, this isn't my original idea anymore. I had a similar idea pretty much as what I was gonna do with this, because I am in a 6x8 album, but now that she has done it, it is her idea. I just changed it up a little bit. So I won't, because I am using a red album, and I felt like with these pages there is so much red that red would go better with this. So we just changed it to red. All right, so I'm going to finish this and put this all together. I am going to put you on a voiceover, and so that I can hopefully, get this project done in the month of January. We'll see. All right, guys. So the first thing I want to mention is I'm going to butcher this project. Okay, we're going to butcher it, and I left it all in here for you to see. Now, I do wish that I would have zoomed out a smidge here. I don't know why I was so zoomed in. Usually I'm more further back, but it is what it is. But I swear I had this all mapped out in Photoshop before I went into this project, and I think what happened is that large picture right above, when I went to go print it, I did not clip it, or I had it clipped to a rectangle the size that I needed it, and when I went to go print it, I dragged over just the picture and not the clipped box with the picture, because I'm about 95% sure that I edited out half of all of that extra on the side to make it just our family picture. And you're going to see, like, it is way off. So it is what it is. I'm going to cut through this picture twice. You can barely see it in the end project. I mean, if you're really looking, it is what it is. But it's, you know, I'm the one looking at it, and I was okay with it. See, you're seeing me go, okay, how do I do this? I'm using my glass mat to measure this. And at first I was like, okay, we got this, because I didn't need something to put the strip down the side. So that's what I'm using this copy paper for. You're going to see me use copy paper a lot. But it's not working out. Because it ended up being like so what I was doing is it was 14 across, where the other side of this project shouldn't be 7 by 8.25 because it needs to have 1.5 inches off of it for that strip to show through, right? So that's where I got off. And I think that's exactly what happened is in Photoshop, I chopped off 1.5 inches of this photo to get rid of, you know, all of that desk stuff over there. But when I went to print it, I didn't include the mask. So I did leave it in here that I am going to pull this whole project apart. Unfortunately, it does mean that that's the other thing that I'm not sure, or I know that I got off of, because in Photoshop, I had the line going straight in between my oldest son, which is the tallest one, and my nephew, which is the hairy one. And I was like, oh, wow, I actually like made a picture where it's not going to get cut through any faces. Well, both cuts that I made went right through faces. So something went wrong. It is what it is. I fix it. I pretty much felt like an engineer making this project, even though, like I said, I thought I had it like perfect in Photoshop, but it is what it is. So there we go. Honestly, because these pictures, let me tell you, this restaurant was busy. I think, you know, these restaurants are like Christmas threw up in them, of course. They're fun. It was a great time. And this is where I'm like, oh gosh, I've messed up somewhere. See, I'm like, this is not going to work out. Here I am, tappy, tappy, tappy. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm going to sit here and be like, this is where I'm like, okay, this is where obviously I've messed up somewhere. I also think in Photoshop, I had this way more zoomed in is what it is. I think that's where the measurements got off. All right. So if you don't love things getting torn apart, and you know, honestly, I think I tore this project apart a few times, to tell you the honest truth. Other things got off, but that is what I like about keeping my mistakes in, because I do feel like when I was watching Linda's, you know, video on this, I felt like it just like her measurements came out perfect. Everything was perfect, and it probably was for her, but that's just not everybody, you know. That's not everybody. All right, so here I am. I'm like, okay, I grabbed a piece of copy paper. I'm like, let me restart on this. Let me put this back down. I can save this. My biggest thing was like, I was not refoiling these red strips. That foil job took 92 minutes. It literally was forever. That's when I'm always like, what is... You know, I always go back between wanting the digitals and wanting the product, you know, and I'm like, that was a lot of time to get the digital, but I was able to turn it red and make it my own. And, you know, the decision fatigue that comes along with so much product in this scrapbooking room is more overwhelming than just taking the minute to let it foil. And I did so many other projects while that was happening anyways. So I go back and forth all the time. Like, I just want some of the vellum. Like, I wish I could just like pick and choose what I would want, but obviously that is not how business works. All right, so here I am. I'm like, okay, I got this back out. I'm remeasuring everything. This is why I said I wish I would have zoomed out a little bit. I didn't realize I was so close. I took a piece of copy paper, I put that page down. I had remeasured it, put that page down so that I made sure everything fit. And now I'm piecing back together my picture. I think I actually end up taking that up again too, I think. I'm not sure, but this is why I'm like, oh, I think that's what happened is I think I had it zoomed in, and B, I think that I had chopped off this part of it. Like, who wanted the, the computer in there and like, the ketchup and the mustard. So I'm like, it is what it is. And I didn't have it up on Photoshop anymore. So it's just like, I couldn't figure out what I'd done wrong, but I'm 95% sure that's what I did. All right. So here I am. I'm trying to figure out, and of course, I have tape and adhesive all over this thing. So I'm like, okay, just, work through this. Don't do anything stupid at this point, because that's what I almost like stuck that back down to the red, and that would have ruined everything, because I do use matte photo paper to print all of my digitals, and that matte photo paper is just so porous, guys. It is so porous that as soon as you get adhesive on it, it sticks, and then it rips, and then, so here I am. Oh, I had to tear this back up because things were not lining up right, which I am no stranger to unstraight lines, because I'm like 100% sure that my Frisker's cutting tool, or whatever you want to call that thing, is not straight. It does not cut this thing right here, this Frisker's paper cutter. This does not cut straight. I'm convinced, actually. I mean, I've almost proven it several times at like this. It's just not straight. So I'm no stranger to that. And it wasn't lining up right. Like, one edge was way up higher. So I'm like, ugh, let me take this apart. And by now, I've cut this photo several times. So I'm like, I have to have things line up straight. So I decided to go the other route. I decided to put the big part down first, and then put the little part down, and then I could cut, because obviously going across the binding, you're not going to notice if there's a teeny tiny part missing anyways, but you're going to notice there's a teeny tiny part missing if his eyes aren't matching up. So look at that poor piece of paper. It's been stuck down and ripped up so many times. All right, here I am. I'm like, okay, let's line up his smile. There we go. Absolutely perfect. Barely can notice it. And we're back in progress. And look there we go. Things are lining up. I'm like, at this point, I'm taking a deep relief. I'm like, this is not supposed to be taking this long. Guys, I think I had like, let's see. I had 23. I probably had 45 minutes of footage. And let me tell you, that's me shutting off the camera several times to like think and then redo this, and then think and redo this. So this project took me, I think, like an hour and a half. And I was just like, there's no way that a project, when I've printed it out after Photoshop, should take me 45 minutes. Like, digital products or digital projects after coming out of the printer take me like 15 minutes to put together, because I've already done all the thought processes. So I'm like, what is happening here? All right. The biggest thing, when I was watching everybody use this, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas paper, is I always thought that people, like Allie, when she was doing it, I'm like, shouldn't it be reading the other way? Like, shouldn't we be reading like left to right and not right to left? And then I was like, okay, then maybe I guess it's upside down. I was so confused by this paper sometimes that I was just like, I ended up just going with whatever everybody else ended up doing. But for me, this was like I don't know if anybody else thought this through the whole process of December Daily this year, but I kept on just like questioning, like, shouldn't like the small, like this one, shouldn't this be its beginning to look a lot like Christmas? Like Christmas should be the end page, not the beginning page. I left it. I just went the way that everybody else did, because I was thinking that maybe I was the crazy one and not obviously everybody else. It's a picture of me and my husband drinking out of our Moose cups, our Murphy the Moose cups. This was like, my husband he watched Christmas Vacation probably 2 years ago now for the first time, and he's pretty obsessed with that movie. We watched it again, except for I don't think that he actually pays attention to like the little things in the movie, because I had to end up showing him where the moose came from, and he was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, how did you not notice the moose cups like that they drink the eggnog out of? Come on. So I don't know if he loves the humor and all that kind of stuff of it. He loves that dry humor, but I don't think that he was actually paying attention to like the small things. So, and I had brought him here specifically for this drink that came in this cup, because I thought that he would, and then he had no idea what I was talking about. And I'm like, what are you doing? I was bewildered. Anyways, now he does know, and now he sees it everywhere. And he was just like, now I know why I see that everywhere. I'm like, oh, my husband. All right. The next thing that I was dealing with was because, you know, this restaurant threw up Christmas. Like, obviously the pictures were so busy. I was wondering if I was going to put a grid around these just to like have a little bit of white space. I decided I did not. I just left it, like, let Christmas throw up for the first day, and then we'll take care of it. I was like, oh, oops, I didn't even tape that down. And then I had another picture of all of the kids at the table, and their milkshakes and all that, the Christmas milkshakes and all that good jazz. So, all right, then I got to the end and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about journaling. I have no idea where I'm going to put journaling. I've already taped down everything, so I can't even slide anything into the sides. And I'm like, okay, wait, I still have this ugly space that we can see the ketchup and mustard. I also did not know where I was going to put my number. So I am going to stop the camera here for half a second, and I'm going to run back to my computer, and we are going to print off a 8.5 or 8.25 by 2.25, I think, strip of vellum, and add my text there. As you can see here, I'm like, okay, we need to cover this up. I'm like, oh, this is maybe a perfect place for my one, but like I said, nope. The next catastrophic thing that happened during this project is I was like, how am I going, now that I've already taped all of this down, how am I going to attach my vellum strip here that you're about to see? And here I am just like trying to add embellishments, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just adding more craziness to this picture, these things. Now in hindsight, when I thought about it, I could have added some like tabs, I think, and like put a little bit of journaling. I might go back and do that. I'm not positive. But here I am. I'm thinking, okay, I have this little spot. What can I do? Here we go. Got a piece of vellum, went to my computer, printed that out. Now my vellum is not drying my ink very well. I don't know. I have issues with vellum and drying and stuff. Anyways, cut this down to 8.25, and I'm like, okay, I'll sew it. Oh yeah, we need to get the sewing machine out anyways. Like, this is the time. Here we go. Sewing machine out for the first time in a long time. And I go to sew, and you're not going to be able to see it. I changed I couldn't find my red thread, but had white. So here I am about to just stitch a regular stitch line in this, and you guys, at the end of this, my needle snaps in half, literally snaps in half. Have no idea. I am cutting through paper. I have no idea. I'm not a sewer. This is like a kid's sewing machine that I got like for Christmas when I was like 20, and thought I was gonna sew, maybe 25. And it's right there. I think it happens right here on my back stitch. Yeah, right there. I'm like, oh wow, I just broke my needle. Like, I mean, I've heard of it happening to other people, but like, so you're gonna see half of my needle hanging there. I was like, I don't have any other needles for this thing. So I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do, because I was going to sew down the bottom half of it too. So that part just kind of flops around. We'll see. Maybe I do have new needles now. I'm gonna try. I don't even know how to put a needle on this thing, but we're gonna YouTube that. So we got that part done. We are gonna put a 1. These are some L's Studio numbers from probably 3 years ago. Who knows? I have so much stuff hanging around. We're going to put a 1 up there. I was going to put something else up there and I can't remember. So all in all, this project came out pretty well. It sucks that I ended up having to cut through my kid's face, but you know, when you're doing a big picture, family picture like this, unless you're like literally thinking the day that you're taking the picture, like that, you know, everybody centers their pictures. Even for me, as a photographer, most of the time, especially when I'm taking a group picture, I'm centering that picture. So you're going to cut through people's faces. It is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it. The memory is there. I have the picture. It's digital. We can do all of that. So, all right, we're going to poke holes. Thank you guys all for being so freaking patient. I'm so sad that I wasn't able to get these up in December, but we're going to have a fun time in January getting all of these done. I am hoping and praying that I can work through this project in January and get it done. It's pretty much, it's a big priority to me. So I just have to tackle it. I'm feeling much better. Thank goodness. Some steroids finally knocked, hopefully, that pneumonia right out of me. We are going to put this in my album and call it good. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. And if you've gotten this far, I would love if you would put a comment below with the number 1 for story number 1, just so that I know who is here and who is following. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one.